The Sports Lounge, brought to you by Waterview Sportsbook and Casino. Welcome to the lounge.
This is the Sports Lounge, New Orleans in the Garden District. I'm John Wiener alongside ISO Joe Simeone and Corey Roldan. Guys, day 2 of Saints camp in the books. How was it out there?
It was good. It wasn't as hot as yesterday because there was not as much sun, which was nice for me. I already got a little burn, so I was thankful for some cloud cover, but it was humid out there.
It was extremely humid, but it was competitive.
Yeah,
you know,
that's for
players
sure.
went out there and competed offensively and defensively. It was a good practice. Offensively, Drew Brees had a nice pass to Ted Ginn late.
And Brees was back today.
Yeah, he was
I know,
back.
big
He's
news,
back.
yeah.
And then defensively, they had 2 interceptions, Marshawn Lattimore and Patrick Robinson.
Well, it's good to hear that, camp was a little competitive, and we're here breaking down day 2 of Saints training camp and a whole lot more of the Sports Lounge New Orleans. Bass Brothers Media, make sure you follow us and share on all of our shows. And we're via Desi Vegas Steakhouse on St. Charles in the Business District. And big shout out, we'll be there tomorrow night, so really excited to kind of wrap Saints camp up. Guys, when you talk about just your big takeaway from today in the practice, and Joe, we'll start with you. What was it?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, the ambiance of the crowd and everything, you could tell everyone was excited to have Drew Brees back out on the field, and I can't blame him. You know, when you get a GOAT like that back on the field, it's fun to even be around just watching him toss the ball around. Another thing, we talk about the competition, and, you talk about these rookies who are really stepping up and getting into their roles and really finding their groove. McCoy's a guy I've talked a lot about, and that center battle's starting to heat up. We saw Nick Easton was actually playing right guard today.
Right.
So that was a big takeaway for me to see that McCoy, they've got a lot of faith in this rookie. They were like, all right, let's go. Put you in at center, see how you do with Drew Brees and how things are going to work out. So I'm excited to see how that kind of shapes out when we move forward getting towards the season.
Jared Cook is looking good.
Yeah,
he is a big specimen. I mean, it's something that they haven't had since Jimmy Graham got traded in 2015. And also the defense flew around the football. You talked about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah.
The coaches were always in his ear, but he was around the football a lot. Marshawn Lattimore played well. Demario Davis, Anzalone. So it was competitive, but the defense looks good, and Jared Cook looks like a monster.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's a guy we talked about a lot yesterday on the Sports Lounge New Orleans, and I know you were looking at McCoy a lot, so it's great to have our eye on these guys and see them develop early on. Sean Payton, of course, was able to speak at practice. Drew Brees did not. We're hoping to be able to catch up with Drew St. Breezes tomorrow. Let's hear real quick Sean Payton's big takeaway from practice as well.
Knowing Drew, how we all know him, I'm sure it was tough for him to miss yesterday. Good to have him back out.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I think, he got in last night, shot me a text. He had a good practice. He's someone that's obviously going to work extremely hard on what we're doing. They'll have times during this summer where these guys will get together and throw. But it was good to have him back out there today.
And guys, of course, the big story, as you alluded to, Drew Brees being back. Corey, what are you looking for when you're watching Drew Brees now at age 40 in training camp and minicamp?
Well, it's all mind when you get to that age, and I think Alvin Kamara, talked to him, it was summed up perfectly. He's one of the smartest players in the league, not just quarterbacks, just overall players. So he's able to pick apart the defense. He might not have the arm strength, but with his mind, he can move safeties. He can change alignment from a run play to a pass play, and that's the biggest thing I see.
Joe, do you worry that Brees' arm strength is increasingly, or decreasing to where it's going to be more, as you said, sort of Peyton and Denver trying to throw guys open and playing a little more complimentary football?
Peyton is no doubt the other extreme of things. I think maybe, we'll see, even like Tom Brady.
Yeah, don't bury Drew yet, man. Come on.
Tom Brady, isn't chucking it deep every single play, and I think we're going to see that with Drew. Like you talked about, it's all about his smarts, and we saw it, He placed some balls perfectly where there was no chance for the defender to even defend, the ball.
Yeah, sure.
It went right into the hands, long plays. There were a couple, but I mean, it's the beginning of minicamp. He's still got to get into the swing of things. There were a couple that he floated around, one that ended up in a Marshawn Lattimore pick, floated right past Jared Cook, right into the waiting arms of the corner. But that comes with the territory. At this age, he needs to get into the
He's good for a
swings
floater
little bit
every
more.
now and then, but he's
Sure.
still good
But he
for
had one pass today. It was incredible with
beautiful.
Josh Hill. And Demario Davis played the ball perfectly. He was in perfect position. And then Brees stuck it in between to
That's what
Mario
I'm talking
Davis
about.
and then Marcus Williams.
Yeah.
And it was just an absolutely beautiful pass right there.
I don't think anybody has thrown that intermediate seam route better in NFL history. Every quarterback has their throw, and with Drew, it's no doubt that second-level seam route. You talked about, and you talk about Demario Davis. We'll hear from Demario Davis in a little bit here, Sports Lounge New Orleans. But Alvin Kamara, you mentioned what was back, and a lot of excitement around him, certainly in training camp. But Kamara had some interesting things to say about Drew Brees himself and learning from the master.
Just trying to be thinking it all on all angles, and I think that's what Drew does a great job of, and that's why he's been so successful, because it's like he has an answer for everything. It's like the kid you hate in class because he always know the answer. It's like, that's Drew, but love him. That's my quarterback.
When you talk about Kamara, he's obviously learning from the best in Drew Brees and Sean Payton, but this is a singular special talent.
No, there's no doubt about it, and you can just tell from talking to him and listening to him speak is how dedicated he is to the game right now, how much he wants to get better. He wants to be that top talent. I think he's really excited. I know, obviously, I'm sure he's a little sad to see his friend Ingram go, but I'm sure he's excited to get that workload and just, carry this team.
That's what I talked about yesterday. I think it was time for him to get that workload because he's going to be a superstar, I believe, in this league.
No doubt.
And he's just a personality, man. Just sitting there talking to him, he's smiling, cracking jokes. He's a unique dude.
And Kamara, I think as much as anybody has embraced that New Orleans lifestyle and really has grown to personify the New Orleans lifestyle in a lot of ways. Let's get into the deeper battles in camp, guys. Who's we talked about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the safety, Jared Cook, we know at tight end. What's the big battle that you're paying attention to, or maybe a rookie that's really standing out for you, Corey?
Well, just in terms of battles, I think the nickel position I talked to yesterday, this team is so deep. That's one of the biggest takeaways I've seen during camp.
Yeah.
They have a lot of players at a lot of different positions that can be starting on other teams. And you see Patrick Robinson, a guy who helped the Eagles win the Super Bowl, he might not be starting next year.
Yeah.
He might be the 1 or 2 nickel position because you got P.J. Williams and then you got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And then in terms of rookies, we talked about McCoy, we talked about Johnson. Alize Mack, I've been saying over and over and over
Both
again,
of you guys,
from Notre Dame, the tight end has been impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've been looking at. It's that tight end position as well. I mean, obviously Jared Cook's going to be your one, but we've seen it in this league, the 3 tight end becoming a lot more popular. I'm really interested to see if Alize Mack can really step up, be that 3rd tight end, or maybe even the 2nd, outplace Josh Hill. So it'll be interesting to see that battle. And of course, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is just the most intriguing guy to me because he's the Swiss Army knife of this team. You could put him anywhere, free safety, strong safety, nickel. Doesn't matter, he'll play them all. So I'm excited to see how he battles into that position because when you're that versatile, you're obviously going to find some playing time for the kid.
Yeah, a lot of talent on that Saints defense, a lot of young talent. We got some young talent up here that we're excited about. Our guy Corey Roldan, New Orleans' own, ISO Joe Simeone, down from Long Island. I'm John Wiener. This is Bash Brothers Media Sports Lounge, New Orleans. Make sure you follow us, Bash Brothers, all the platforms. We're via and brought to you by, certainly, Waterview Sportsbook and Casino in Vicksburg, our old partners. Go put your money down at Waterview, Mississippi's #1 place for legal sports betting. And our New Orleans partner, Desi Vegas Steakhouse on St. Charles in the Business District. And we're going to be at Desi Vegas on Thursday for show 3 to kind of wrap it all up, guys. You talked about Demario Davis. Corey, he's a really interesting story, certainly with his Mississippi roots, but what he's meant to the Saints.
Well, he's been their best free agent from last year on and off the field. He does a lot in the community, especially in Jackson. It's only 2.5 hours away. It's a big reason why he came here, but he's been like the leader of that linebacking core. He solidified the Mike linebacker position, and then you have Alex Anzalone come in, and it's been a really good group since he's been here.
And Joe, I'm a guy, when I looked at Demario Davis, and you saw Demario a lot, as a Jets linebacker, and I don't think anyone appreciated how good he was. I certainly didn't. I was wrong in terms of Demario, that he's an all-pro guy. Yeah,
I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's funny, I talked to him after practice today and asked him about it. I said, I think that this linebacking core is a little underrated, and what's your feelings on that? And he answered it perfectly. I think he said, this is the guy that I've been my entire career, so it gives me a little chip on my shoulder, and I play with that chip. And that's what you like to hear from a guy like that. I really think he's going to have a big year for the Saints.
Yeah, it's a defense generally playing with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Even Cam Jordan, the newly minted $50 million man, has that attitude and that aggression. You talk about attitude and aggression. We'll hear a little bit of sound from DeMario. And, guys, I know he told you this was a physical, competitive camp
no
day.
doubt.
And DeMario talked about it.
I mean, it's been competitive. When you got Drew Brees, one of the best quarterbacks that play the game, Mike Thomas and Alvin Kamara, two of the most explosive guys in the NFL on the other side of the ball. Great offensive line, great defensive line, and a defense that's just playing relentlessly together. I mean, it's going to breed great competition, great battles.
So you're from DeMario, and part of our Sports Lounge New Orleans coverage and just what we're doing at Bash Brothers, I know you guys are going to have a lot of, feature looks at sort of what we've seen. Give us a quick preview, Corey, what you're working on in terms of what the fans can see.
So I've been working on DeMario Davis, just kind of what he brings to the community on and off the field, and also Jared Cook, what he's going to mean to this offense, having a 6'6", 250-pound Pro Bowl tight end coming.
I'm excited about Jared Cook myself, and Joe, I know you're excited about these rookie battles.
Yeah, I'm covering the rookies right now. It's the most interesting thing to me. I like the way the Saints have drafted in the past, and I think it's going to continue this year. So I'm really locked in to see how McCoy, Gardner, and Alize Mack all turn out for this team.
I want to take one step out before we look ahead to day 3 and wrap things up. I got a question for you guys. In terms of the NFC South and the other contenders out there against the Saints, the Falcons, the Bucs, and the Panthers, Corey, who do you think at this point is the Saints' biggest challenger to that NFC South crown?
I think it's the Falcons. Last season, they lost their heart and soul, their defense. Debo Jones, he was a Pro Bowl type player for the Falcons. He's a New Orleans native, and they also had a lot of injuries in the secondary. It's a great offensive team. I don't think that the Panthers are going to be that great next year just because Cam Newton's dealing with injuries. They lost the last 6 games of the season, and then Jameis Winston is so inconsistent.
No love for Cam.
I mean, you know how I feel on Cam. Don't look at me to give him any love.
Is the window closing for Cam? Is that thing done in Carolina?
Listen, I've never been a huge running quarterback guy, but especially as they start to age like Cam is, when the legs start to go, Cam specifically, I don't think has the arm to really transfer into a pocket passer. So yeah, I do. I think that window's closing pretty quickly on him. But on the other hand, Matt Ryan, he's going to be good for a long time, and those Falcons are definitely the most competitive right now for the Saints to have to deal with. Buccaneers.
We'll see. It's a nice little one-sided rivalry that's developed between the Saints and the Falcons. Some quick NFL news as it relates to Mississippi. Steve McNair's number getting retired by the Tennessee Titans. What a legend he was for that franchise, and what a larger-than-life figure he was in Mississippi. And real quick, your thoughts on John Gruden and the guys, the Raiders on Hard Knocks?
I'm excited to see John Gruden on Hard Knocks. I mean, what a show! That show to begin with, come on, you got to be excited for that. Antonio Brown, the diva,
Antonio
man.
Brown. And then you just got Derek Carr, and the Raiders are about to move. And, does Gruden trust his scouts and his coaches and assistants? It's going to be interesting.
It's almost like Hard Knocks was made for this Raiders team, or better put, I think this Raiders team was made for Hard Knocks, little reality TV in person. Well, speaking of reality TV, that's what you got more or less here on the Sports Lounge in New Orleans. Bash Brothers came down. We set up shop on the porch in the Garden District for 2 days. We broke out the daiquiris this time around, had some beers yesterday. Decided we need to, loosen things up even more on the Sports Lounge New Orleans here on the porch. So it's been an awful fun 2 days. And guys, we got some real exciting stuff coming for show 3. We're going to be at Desi Vegas Steakhouse. Corey, tell us a little bit, as the New Orleans native and a guy who knows the city inside and out, tell us a little bit about Desi Vegas.
Well, it's on St. Charles and Girard, right in the heart of the city. You can walk for the Superdome or the arena from the restaurant. It's a steakhouse. They got seafood. It's really good food. A lot of Saints and Pelicans players like to go there. Desi Vegas started his restaurant business with Mr. John's, and then he created Desi Vegas Steakhouse, and now he's got 3 or 4 different restaurants. And it's a very popular restaurant with players, as we've seen in the locker room.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to get a chance to go eat there.
We're super excited to partner with Desi Vegas and be down there for our final show on Thursday, day 3 of the Sports Lounge New Orleans. Joe, tell us real quick before we go your thoughts on the. Have you gotten the food that you think should live up to it?
Oh yeah, I mean, New Orleans has really brought the heat with the food. I'm excited about it, and I might go home at least 300 pounds heavier.
Well, we brought the heat today on the Sports Sports Lounge New Orleans show 2. Big one coming tomorrow to wrap it all up at Desi Vegas on St. Charles in the Business District. Always a great time in New Orleans. The Sports Lounge New Orleans. Shout out Josh the Juice, our director, Hack and Hank. Corey Rolden, my man, ISO Joe. We're going to continue on the daiquiri train and get on out of here. Sports Lounge New Orleans, Bash Brothers Media.
Thanks for stopping into the Sports Lounge. Join us online, on screen, every week at Bash Brothers Media.